What if everything you have been told as the facts of history is only the half story? I can share an example. The temples of Khajuraho, built over 1,000 years ago, carry sculptures of same-sex intimacy on their walls. Ancient Sanskrit texts describe a third gender, the Kama Sutra. The Kama Sutra devotes an entire chapter to queer desire, from the epic Mahabharata to characters like Shikhandi and Brihanala, and even stories like Ila. Queer identities have always been a part of Indian mythology and history, showing that gender was understood as more than just male or female. And yet, for most of the 20th century, queer Indians lived under a colonial law, Section 377, introduced by British in 1861, that made same-sex love a criminal act. India did not become queerphobic on its own. It was taught to be. Hello everyone, I am Akanksha. Welcome back to Flashback Fridays Season 2, presented by Art with Habir. In this video, we are looking at the artists who refused that lesson, who rebelled, who painted, who photographed, and drew queer life into visibility at a time when being visible was dangerous. Let's begin with an artist who never called herself a queer artist, but whose life and work were quietly, unmistakably queer. Amrita Shergill was born in 1913 to a Hungarian mother and Punjabi Sikh father. She trained in Paris, returned to India, and painted with a ferocity and psychological intensity that was unlike anything being made in the country at the time. She was also openly bisexual, writing candidly about her relationships with women in private letters, at a time when such honesty was almost unheard of. Look at her paintings. With this in mind, and something shifts. Her canvases are full of women, watching each other, resting near each other, sharing quiet, charged moments. Works like Two Girls and Women Resting on a Charpai holds a tenderness that goes beyond the merely observational. Shergill died in 1941, aged only 28. Her queerness was quietly erased from most official accounts of her life for decades. It is only recently, through scholars and queer arts historians, that this part of the history is being brought back into the light. Now let's talk about the man who did something Amrita Shergill never could, or never chose to. He came out loudly on canvases. Bhupen Thakkar was born in Mumbai in 1934. He was a chartered accountant who taught himself to paint and went on to become one of the most significant Indian artists of the 20th century. He revealed his homosexuality publicly in 1982, marking him widely considered the first Indian artist to come out openly as a gay. And from that moment, his work became more fully itself. Paintings like Two Men in Banaras and You Can't Please All depicted male intimacy with an honesty that had simply never been seen in Indian art before. He set these scenes in essentially Indian spaces, ghats, bazaars, ordinary rooms, not in some abstracts elsewhere. Right here in India, he once said, "I have chosen homoeroticism as a theme because I am a gay. For me, there is nothing unnatural about homosexuality." In 1982. In India, those were not easy words to say. While Thakkar was painting queer desire in Baroda, a young photographer in Delhi was doing something equally urgent, documenting queer life before it disappeared. Sunil Gupta was born in New Delhi in 1953, moved to Canada as a teenager, and eventually settled in London. But India never left his lens. In the 1980s, he returned to Delhi and began photographing gay men, their lives, their spaces, their intimacies, under a law that still criminalized this existence. The resulting series, Exiles, is one of the most important photographic documents of the queer Indian life ever made. It is now in the permanent collection of the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Gupta has said that art history is essentially a bunch of stories, and he thought queer stories should be in there. because they were not. His entire career has been dedicated to putting them there. Through photography, writing, and decades of activism around race, migration, and HIV. He was also one of the first South Asian artists to openly document living with HIV, turning his own body and illness into a subject of art and political witness. 2018, Section 377 is finally struck down by the Supreme Court of India. Homosexuality is decriminalized. A country holds its breath and artists exhale. The years around and after 2018 saw an explosion of queer visual art in India, not just as activism, but as joy, as memory, as intimacy. Illustrators like V.M. Mishran began building a visual archive of queer Indian life. Portraits of intimacy, drawn with warmth and specificity, circulating widely on social media, and finding audiences that had never seen themselves represented in art before. Artist and illustrator Debasmita Das created an animated comic series called The Beginner's Guide to Growing Up Queer and Invisible, tracing the experience of queer girl in a world that did not see her. It was shared by publications across India and abroad, reaching people who recognized their own childhoods in every panel. And sculptor and performance artist Debashish Paul uses his own body as material. Sculptural dresses made of layered papers, performances that push at the boundaries of gender, exploring queer identity in a social still, in many ways learning to look. And then there is a project that took queer art out of galleries entirely and brought it to the place that belongs to everyone, the street. The Aravani Art Project was founded in Bengaluru in 2016 by artist Purnima Sukumar, a muralist and community artist who had built deep friendships with trans women in the city and witnessed firsthand the violence and exclusion they faced in public spaces. What Purnima and her collective do is deceptively simple. They paint walls, large, vivid, technically accomplished murals depicting transgender women surrounded by culturally specific motifs. In Chennai, the jasmine flower. In Delhi, the streets of Lodi Colon. But the act is not simple at all. The street is precisely where transgender bodies in India face the most harassment, the most violence, the most pressure to disappear. By painting those streets, by putting transgender faces on those walls, large and luminous and impossible to ignore, the Aravani Art Project turns the site of violence into a site of dignity. But visibility, as these artists know, is not the same as safety. Even after 2018, the road has not been smooth. Sunil Gupta's retrospective in India, the first, was shown only 2014. It marked the first time that explicitly queer work by a living artist has never shown in an Indian public institution. His previous non-commercial show in Delhi in 2012 was raided and shut down by the police. Queer art in India still navigates a complicated terrain. Galleries that are cautious, institutions that are slow to commit, and a public discourse still working out what acceptance actually look like beyond Pride Month. And yet the artists keep making work. Curator Kalol Datta launched Kolkata Queer Art Months in 2023, giving unrepresented queer artists access to proper exhibition spaces alongside established names. These are not small acts. In a country where queer art has spent so long being invisible, every exhibition is an argument for the right to exist. So here is a thread that runs through all of it, from Amrita Shergill's charged canvases in the 1930s to the Aravani Art Project murals on the streets of Bengaluru today. Queer Indian art has always been about visibility. Who gets to be seen, in what spaces, on whose terms. For much of the 20th century, queer artists had to hide in plain sight, painting desire in ways that could be read as friendships, or devotion, or simply human warmth. The queerness was there for those who knew how to look. Then came Bhupen Khakkar and Sunil Gupta, who refused to hide, who made the invisible visible at personal and professional cost. Then a generation of young artists about Section 377, making work that is not cautious, not coded, not asking for permission. And then the Aravani Art Project, which skipped the gallery entirely, walked straight out onto the street, and painted the city in the faces of those it has tried hardest to erase. Queer art in India is not a trend. It is a centuries-old conversation, one that was violently interrupted and is now slowly and loudly being resumed. And every painting, every photograph, every mural on every wall makes it harder to look away. India's ancient temples said it in stones, its poets said it in verse, and now its artists are saying it again, in paints, in pixels, in murals 10 feet tall on the walls of cities that once tried to make these people invisible. The question was never whether queer life existed in India. The question was always who get to tell the story. And increasingly, the answer is the people who lived it. If you would like us to go deeper into any of these artists or collectives, let us know in the comments. This was Flashback Friday with Art with Habib. See you next week, where another artwork from the past might just explain your present.